Hello everyone, welcome to Fara's Carrier Guide. Today's episode 6.5 covers flight deck management. Not the largest of the topics, but it is somewhat important. This follows how you control the planes that want to take off and land at the carrier at the same time, because there's a bottleneck in how many planes can take off and how many can land, how many planes are being prepared. So there's a level of efficiency that can be done here. You can maximize the output of your carrier if you control what planes are landing and what planes are taking off. So we have a couple of clips in our clip playlist on YouTube, so go check that out. But right now, we're going to go into the classroom setting and in the WoW's tactic training room, and we'll kind of explain what I mean by flight deck management. So here we are in our WoW's tactics planner. We're on the map neighbors, and we do have a clip of this type of example we're showing off. But what I'm trying to convey is we have two torpedo bombers, and they have dropped their payload and they are now returning to our carrier. However, our carrier also has two dive bombers ready to take off. Now, we know that each dive bomber takes roughly 10 seconds to take off. The actual number of seconds can vary depending on how many planes in the wave. So for example, a Saipan's 9 bomber wave takes a little bit longer, 12 or 13 seconds, I don't know the exact number, but you get the general principle. So the question is, are our torpedo bombers approximately 20 seconds away? If they're about 20 seconds away, you can take off with the dive bombers before both torpedo bombers get into the landing pattern and go for the landing. If, however, let's say our torpedo bombers are only like 7 or 6 seconds away from landing, it is more beneficial to allow both the torpedo bombers to land. Once they have landed, you can start taking off with the dive bombers. However, what's interesting here is that planes can take off and planes can also be prepared, if that makes sense. So when a plane lands, it's being refueled, rearmed, and that's it being prepared, and there's kind of a cooldown before you can use it again. Those planes are being made ready while you are taking off planes from your flight deck. So the principle here is if we took off with our dive bombers first, and that would mean that our torpedo bombers would have to wait until the takeoff was finished. After the takeoff is finished, then the torpedo bombers would land, and only then would they start preparing, which means we're waiting a much longer time for more valuable planes to become active again in the battle. Have we wait just a few seconds, maybe 10 seconds, for the planes to land, the torpedo bombers to land, it means that the dive bombers are slightly delayed, but we earn that back multiple fold because the torpedo bombers can land, they can start being prepared, and the dive bombers can take off at the same time. So by the time that the dive bombers have finished taking off, the torpedo bombers are almost ready to take off as well. Now, flight deck management can get more complicated the more ways you have, and it's especially so in the tier 9 and 10 Japanese carriers, the Taiho and the Kiryu, because you can have up to 7 or 8 waves of planes. You also have to factor in, how are your fighters doing? If your fighters are low in planes or low in ammunition and you want to pull them back, are they going to interfere with the landing platform and the takeoff of your carrier? Do you have other planes that want to take off? Do you have planes that are waiting to take off? So this is experience that's up to you, the player, that you'll have to kind of learn over time. Some people just don't pay attention to it. They just tell planes to land and tell planes to take off, and that's why there can be a disjointed, some planes take off, some planes are landing. If planes are in the launch queue, if you've got planes in the launch queue, all planes in the launch queue will take off before any plane can land, and this can be dangerous. If perhaps, let's say we have two fighters and we're low in ammunition, or we're low in planes, and we're thinking, you know what, I want to stop the enemy bombers from attacking a friendly ship or from attacking my ship, perhaps, I might want to recall them and land. But the thing is, maybe I've got all my bombers ready, waiting to take off. And therein lies the question, do I wait and hold back all my bombers and land with my fighters? Or perhaps I've got all 4 bombers queued to take off. So one torpedo bomber's taken off, another one's about to take off, and the 2 dive bombers are ready to take off as well. But I want to land my fighters as quickly as I can because I want to turn them around as quickly. At that point, we can go back and we can cancel the plane takeoff order by right-clicking on the planes, and we can cancel the dive bomber takeoff, get our fighters to land. Once the fighters have landed, then we can take off the dive bombers. By the time the dive bombers have finished taking off, the fighters will be ready, they can launch as well. So that's flight deck management. you have to decide who you want to take off, who you want to land first. Takeoff always takes priority over something landing, so you have to cancel the takeoff launch sequence if you want to land something. The plane takeoff time is dependent on the wave size, so the larger the plane wave, the longer it's going to take, but we're talking like only by a few fractions of a second. And then lastly, the maximum number of planes that I have witnessed landing is 2. You can have 2 plane waves landing at the same time, but only 1 plane wave can take off at a time. That is flight deck management. There are some example clips in my example clip playlist on YouTube, and also on the WOW's aircraft carrier guide on the forums, the official forums. There'll be clips there showcasing what we're talking about here with flight deck management. Thank you very much for watching. And the next video in our list is carrier sniping. Oh, that'll be fun, right? Until then, we'll see you next time. Goodbye, guys.